Hi, my name's Steve Judd from North Pole, Alaska. This is my dog Cooper. I was born and raised, actually right on this property. Lived here, moved away for a while after school, went to Arizona, married, had a little girl, went to a separation, came back here for a little bit, but wanted to be a part of my daughter's life, so I ended up moving to Minnesota. And worked hard and fought real hard to get 50-50 custody with her and be a part of her life. And my dad fell ill, terminal cancer, and brought me back to Alaska after living about 10 years in Minnesota with my daughter. Dad got sick and passed away.
So you were just recently baptized.
Yes.
Would you mind explaining a little bit, how long ago were you baptized and how did that experience feel for you?
I was baptized back in April. Was shooting for my dad's birthday. It was April 27th. But the awesome elder at the time was, no, I might get transferred. We're doing it now. So Elder Willis, he ended up, we did it on the 24th or 25th. It was great. We did it out in the Chattanooga River, frozen river, ice, real cold. The whole experience, but I'll tell you, I felt, after that day, I just felt like a new person. I feel Jesus with me now. Stronger. I think Jesus always is with us, but, when we're seeking Him and moving forward, He gets stronger. The Holy Spirit gets stronger.
Yeah, so that's what your life was like at your baptism. Before your baptism, what were some of the changes that you wanted to make in your life? What desires did you have?
I struggled a lot with anxiety. I've had panic attacks most of my life. They started when I was a freshman in high school. Bad anxiety issues. There's a lot of dark times, a lot of stress, alcoholism, a lot of troubling times. And I wanted to change who I was. I've always felt and wanted to seek something better than me, but I just never lived it or learned it or knew it. But I've always asked, but I've always questioned it, and never knew the truth, never felt the truth. I always ran the other direction. Didn't matter how hard I tried doing things, life just seemed to get harder and heavier and tougher. And that was, part of me not living the gospel and following, the wrong path and the wrong decisions.
So, what would you say was your turning point when you started going uphill?
It was after I moved back here. I was starting to have really bad panic attacks again, and I would jump in my car, and the only thing that would calm me is to go jump in my car and drive, and get away. And so I was gonna sleep in the car that night, and this was after my dad passed, and I'm just praying, Dad, give me a sign. Tell me you're okay. Tell me there's a God. Why is things so tough? Why is it so hard here? Really was going through some hard times, and ended up falling asleep that night, and I had a dream. And in my dream, I felt like I was walking up to this building. And it was a block building. It had a glass front door on it, a set of stairs going up to the right, and I felt like I had to knock on this door. So I knocked on the door, and my dad pops up off this sofa. And this is after I was praying and I was crying. And he comes to the door, and he's not the sick dad with cancer. He's this healthy looking, happy, good, color in him. And he opens the door, and I said, Dad, how are you doing? In my dream, and he goes, Steve, I'm okay. There is a God. And I woke up. And, and at that time, I just passed it off as, wow, that was a really good dream. That made me feel good because my dad looked good, and he, was happy, and he said, there is a God. And I just wrote it off as a really good dream, and not really even after I prayed that night and begged God to show me a sign. And, that's the part of that is changing me now, is I miss that sign. Even then, I miss that sign. you know, even after I prayed and asked how my dad was doing, and I had that dream, I still just passed it off as a dream.
So at what point do you feel like you recognized that as an answer from God, that he was listening to your prayers?
He hit me again. I mean, this is 3 years later after I had that dream, and I'm still living that lifestyle of, you know, drinking and not following the gospel and just being me, I guess. And I'm an outdoors person, got a hunting camp, and I met a sister that posted on this off-grid living thing, and that, oh, I'd love to do that sometime, and so I responded with a text going, you know, I've got a hunting thing, I want to live off-grid, I want to get away from the world, you know, I'll build a cabin, you do gardens. So she ended up adding me as a friend on Facebook, but what she said was in her thing, she goes, I can't do anything for the next couple of years, I'm doing missionary work. And of course it might have missionary work, and then it dawned on me that, oh, you're Mormon. And my dad was baptized Mormon back when he was 18, 19 years old in the service. And I have his dog tags that says Mormon on them. And I remember that. I said, oh, my dad was Mormon. He got baptized. We never lived it. We never practiced it. Never went to church. You know, I just knew that he did it when he was a young guy back in the service. She goes, oh, I'm this and that. So she added me as a friend on Facebook. And I ended up scrolling down on her page. I clicked on her page and scrolled down, and I was in shock what I saw next. It was absolutely the building in my dream. And this is 3 years later. You know, when I saw the building in my dream where my dad, it was a there's stairs, there's a door, there's a big chandelier, 100% in my dream. There was something that said on top, but I never could make it out in my dream, but I just remembered in my dream having what the building says on holiness to the Lord. And so when I saw that on her Facebook, I was wow, that is the building in my dream. And I didn't even know what the building was, and it was like 2 a.m. So I'm sitting there, I got to find out what this is. This was how this was in my dream. And so I start Googling Holy of the Lord, Mormon Church, and then it sunk on me that when I started reading about it, it was the temple, and you know that they do baptismal for the dead there. It's such a sacred place, and that's where I said, here, that's where I just went, there's your sign. You know, I just remember back to that day when I was just crying and praying for my dad and you know, and Jesus, please come in and say, you know, help me. And I just had this feeling over me that everything just clicked. You know, yeah, it took that period of time and that understanding maybe for me to understand, but it just clicked. And so the missionaries came over, handed me the Book of Mormon, and I read the Nephi 1 and 2 probably within 4 days. I just ate through it just because I was still shocked over how that picture, the temple, reading about the temple before I talked to him. So I read a bunch of that, and I really related with Nephi, you know, and don't want to pick on brothers or siblings, but, you know, my side of the family is kind of like the brothers in Nephi 1, and I feel like, I'm not good, but I try. And I just felt like, oh, those are like my brothers, you know? And so I really related with Nephi, and I just got hooked. And then the small blessings, you know, maybe the things that I never looked before, little things in life seem so much more important and are wants, you know? I don't want any beer. I don't want 5 girlfriends, you know? I feel peace now instead of jealousy, anger. All that is gone away, and I credit that to you know, studying scriptures, reading the Bible, you know, hanging out with elders. I mean, you elders are a big part of this. You guys truly are. I mean, I've got really good brothers within this church, you know, and I truly do. You know, we have a good time, and you know, we do studying together. It's such a better environment. You become who you associate with. You know, if you hang out with chickens, you become a chicken. If you hang out with eagles, you become an eagle. Everybody can become eagles. They just gotta. God doesn't ask much from us. Jesus doesn't ask much from us. Just follow him and love him, and you know, he'll forgive you, and he'll open his arms up to you.
If there's someone out there who was going through something the same as you were, they're having a really hard time in their life, and they're going through a lot, what advice would you give?
Stop chasing the wrong, what you think is right. God is so... He doesn't want us to live a life of torment and torture. And it's so much easier to love and follow Jesus and God than it is to live any other way. You know, I lived 40 years the other way. You know, it's just Mary Magdalene. I love that saying. You know, she goes, I was one way, but now I'm another. And in between was him. And if people are struggling and having hard times in anything, all you have to do is ask Jesus and follow Jesus. And he doesn't ask much than to believe him and live the commandments. You know, and it's that easy, and your life changes. It's a miracle. I mean, it's amazing. There is. I don't want to go back. You know, the blessings that I have had in just short 6 months has been more amazing and more blessing than anything I've had in 40 years. And the love and the people that have been in my life, and right now I don't want to go back. I will work harder for the love and everything through Jesus than I would going the other direction.
That's awesome. Well, thank you for sharing your experience with us. I know I felt the Spirit to testify to me that what you said is true. And your life is a living testimony to the truthfulness of Jesus Christ and the message of his gospel. And I think we've seen that today. He works miracles today, and he still speaks to his children, and he loves us, and he loves you. And that was demonstrated in your own life very recently.
It's amazing. Love it.
Well, thank you, Steve.
No, thank you guys
Thanks for being
stories.
willing to share.
That
Your
was
story's going to touch many hearts.
A lot of people have experiences and problems similar to Steve's, and we want to help those kinds of people. And we believe that we have the answers to your questions and the problems that you do have.
Feel free to reach out to us by messaging our page here, Come Unto Christ in Alaska, or by visiting this link to comeuntoChrist.org. You can find lots of helpful resources and tips to start your own journey to finding Christ.